So it's been a while since I actually recorded a vlog. You probably won't notice because they're scheduled and I record a lot of vlogs at once. Anyway, I'm getting back into it. It is actually February 10th. The COVID spike has quickly declined from this Omicron variant. And coming out to meet with me is David Melamed. Known him, I don't know, probably close to 15 years. Been doing a lot of search marketing and overall digital marketing since the early days of the internet. We're meeting about some client stuff. We've done some work in the past together. We're doing some new work now. And I convinced him, hopefully, we'll see if it gets recorded, convinced him to actually sit down with me and discuss some new things that are going on. Don't know the exact topics, but I'm sure it'll be a lot of fun. And I have a bunch of other interviews scheduled in the next couple of weeks. So hopefully I'll get a lot in. And hopefully that'll be the end of all these different waves of variants and so forth. And we can get back to the normal vlogging. So hope you enjoy it. He's a really great guy. He knows his stuff and it should be interesting. David, thank you for coming out to my office. It's been a long time since we actually saw each other in person.
Yeah, I try to avoid New York as much as possible.
That's good. Where are you based now?
I'm in Denver, Colorado.
How you like it? You moved out a while ago.
Yeah, I mean, I'm from there originally, and then I came to the East Coast for about a decade, and then I head back to Denver in 2013, 2014, something like that.
Cool. So can you just tell people in this camera who you are, your company, or any information you want them?
Sure. So I'm David Melamed. I've been, let's call it adjacent to the search space since probably 2006 or so. And my first exposure to the SEO space actually goes back to probably 2001. I had a website from a supplement company. I was trying to make a buck while I was in high school. Signed up for it, they gave me a website, and so I tried to figure out how to get traffic to a website. I think I went to Metacrawler. I think that was the search engine I was using back then that was pulling side by side different search engine results and searching for like how I guess how to show up in search results. And I think the advice I saw them was to get listed in directories. But I don't think I ever went further than seeing a forum thread or two on the topic, and then stayed away from the internet for a couple of years. And then when I came back, I guess started my career probably around 2006.
2006. And we met probably in 2009, maybe earlier.
2007 SES, I think. It might have been 2009. You could actually find it if their website's archived, because I was at Outreach Center at the time, and there was a charity event that was going to a leukemia foundation, I think, and I had Outreach Center sponsor the event for the backlink. I didn't know anything about backlinks. I just heard you need backlinks. I figured an SEO event's probably got a really good backlink profile, so whatever link juice they send us is probably valuable. Didn't really know anything, so I think that was probably my first.
So you went to your first SEO conference was in 2006, 7.
It wasn't 6. It was probably 7. Okay. It could have been 8.
Interesting. And I don't remember a meeting. I apologize, but there weren't many. We call yarmulkes or kippahs in those conferences. Probably still aren't, although they're more now.
We may not have met at the event. I think maybe I emailed or we spoke or something along those lines. I think I could dig into my email archives and check.
That's how I do it. It's funny, before I meet people, I'll look to see when my first communication was with them. So Brittany Muller from Moz emailed, and I went to a MozCon event a few years ago, and I asked, "You want to be on the vlog?" She said, "Sure." And then I looked some research back in the day and had an email from her back in 2005 or something like that. "Hey, you're looking for a job in SEO. I want to write and stuff." I don't think I responded to her. And I found that when I met with her in person, I'm like, "I'm sorry, but it turned out to be very good for you. You went to work for Moz and so forth, and your career projected, was amazing." So it's interesting when people, first meet, and I'm really bad with names and so forth, but we worked a lot on multiple clients over the past years. And we just obviously speaking about other things now, and you came to the office to talk about that. And it's amazing your career. I mean, you focus on marketing in general, and I think you're pretty well known or respected in the paid search space specifically, but you've dabbled in all of it, I think, right?
Yeah. Honestly, search has been, let's call it my first love. I was always going to do something in marketing. When I was really young, my dream was to write Super Bowl commercials, because that's just what everybody talked about the day after the Super Bowl. And we didn't have a TV in a religious home, and so it was really taboo wanting to write ads, commercials. It was a career that I was forbidden from doing, which meant I had to do it.
Interesting.
And I also, grew up around computers. My dad actually wrote some really complex software for nursing home cost reporting. So we had this like really old, I want to call it a desktop, but it was kind of like a laptop. It like keyboard flipped out, and there's five and a third, whatever the size was, floppies to load. Like you have to load the operating system.
Right.
I think it was like Lotus 1, 2, 3, something like that. So then we got a 486 DX2, I think it was 66. That was my first computer with our dial-up internet.
Did your father bring home the phone that you had to put on the receiver when it made all the noise?
No, that computer didn't connect. But I do remember getting in trouble for racking up long distance bills, logging onto like the Boulder Police BBS system or something like that. So that was my first exposure. So I was just kind of like, exposed to the internet, exposed to technology really early, and kind of loving marketing and business stuff. I sold pickles in elementary school until they shut me down, the bureaucracy, because I didn't have a food handler's license.
Oh God.
Then I started selling it at the bus stop, and I think honestly, just search is like every marketing problem I think about, somehow I just see it through the lens of search, whether it's paid or organic. The intent level of like someone raising their hand and telling you exactly what they're looking for. It feels like a layer on the world, and I just so even though I do lots of marketing, for some reason I end up focused there.
That's good. What was your first official job? Not your freelance, not like you doing stuff like in a way to earn money, but what was your, like personally, but not building websites, but for your first job in an agency or in a company?
Got it. Yeah. So it was.
And I'm fact checking you because I printed out your LinkedIn profile.
So my LinkedIn, I might have obscured this on my LinkedIn profile, possibly. I saw an SEO agency pop up called Rock Island Group. At the time, I was in Savannah, Georgia, working for a shopping center company doing retail leasing. I was really bad at it, but I had a sort of epiphany, which is these retailers, they have something of value, people want it, and they just need the right demographics, the right amount of people that pass by it, the right amount of cars, the right income level, and then they need visibility and accessibility. Can you get there from the road? Does it have enough parking, good lighting? And once Starbucks knows that, they can just rinse and repeat, opening another location. And a light bulb went off in my head that said, search engines give you access to everybody with every intent. And I saw a job opportunity listed for this SEO agency called Rock Island Group in New York. And it happened to be one of the co-founders was my friend's brother-in-law. And so I applied for a job there, and they interviewed me and said no, they were looking for an experienced SEO. I begged them to give me 2 weeks to read up on the topic and re-interview me, and they said fine. And the first thing I did was SEO book, because that was probably the first thing I searched.
That was Aaron Wall, right?
Yeah, Aaron Wall. And I don't know what happened to him, honestly, but I hope most of my career to him, because the first...
He will watch this.
Will he?
Yes.
I'll
make sure he does.
The first real exposure I had to the SEO space came from SEO book and from his content, and I was just clicking on links and following those breadcrumbs and going down that rabbit hole. And it was over a Passover holiday, and I just for 2 weeks read everything I can get my hands on the topic. I went back and re-interviewed, convinced them to re-interview me, and they offered me a job. They early on, they didn't really have me doing SEO. Maybe the closest thing to SEO I did was write some press releases for them. I remember my first press release was my most embarrassing thing. I had a quote in there from the client that says insert name, that we syndicated out. So you have this press release out there for this, it was a real estate company that actually has a quote in there attributed to insert name.
It's funny.
But I begged them to let me maybe I did some like forum research for a client or something, but I wasn't doing any SEO for them. And they had a paid search side too. It was a luxury watch brand, but that was the main clients. but that was my first exposure. They ended up shutting down a year later, and I got pulled into a Card Nation charity, and that's probably when we first interacted around that search space. And I was the first thing I cleaned up was the paid search side. SEO has this kind of, no matter how much you think you know or you feel like there's something you're missing, or there's something someone else knows more than you. So it's it's a little harder to know what to do and know who to trust than other areas of marketing. And even with what I know now, I still feel like I don't know enough. I watch some of like your videos and interviews with people, and they start talking about like the technical sides of SEO, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm out of my element here.
Right. Well, that's why we have specialists. So
exactly.
Right.
But that was my first SEO job.
Yeah, Aaron Walls, I remember when he came out with it was an ebook, one of the first ebooks on SEO, I believe. And he asked me to look at it over. It was great. But before that, it was very few people who actually wrote books on that topic. I think Shari Thoreau was one of the first. Maybe Mike Rahan, remember he used to write these really.
Was that Grey Wolf or someone else?
No, Grey Wolf is no longer. He's somebody else who's no longer around. I hope he's okay.
Okay.
He's no longer. A lot of people have been in the industry. Aaron Wall's very quiet now.
Yeah.
But I think he's doing some pretty good stuff from what I hear. Quietly, so I don't know, but he's still doing well. I think he's on Twitter and stuff. If you want to reach out to him.
Yeah, I mean, the only other blog I remember back in the day that I really loved, besides For Yours, I found that pretty quickly, and I think the yarmulke caught me.
Yeah, probably.
But was Stunt Double. I think he had
Todd, yeah.
I think he had a really, really useful like keyword prioritization spreadsheet resource to download. What I fell in love with in the industry is because everybody appreciated the value of a link. Everybody was sharing their best ideas. You could give away literally 100% of everything you know. People still assume that there's more they don't know and pay you for it. And it was just the most sharing industry. I think I had this random insight that if age of content is something that helps it rank, the SEO industry was building on itself a dynamic that was always going to make it hard to trust, because there's so much information that's outdated that still ranks well.
Right.
And that's still out there. And I see questions coming to me about topics that I feel like haven't worked in a decade.
Right. That is probably one of the biggest issues, is that people read one thing that was posted, even like maybe posted 15 years ago. Somebody else reads it, writes a new article about it. That starts to rank well. And then you have like people worried about domain authority as being a Google ranking factor, and it's not even a Google metric. It's a third-party tool. Or keyword density and stuff like that. It just goes on and on and on. So yeah, I mean, but things change over the years. But overall, I think SEO has not changed much. I mean, it's still basically write great content that people want to link to. Pretty much.
Yeah. I think the saying I like best of how to think about SEO today is really the user is king. I actually like what I call the Wayne Gretzky strategy for SEO, which is he was clearly saying that he would skate to where the puck was going to be in the future. Instead of me chasing Google's next update, I'd rather Google being embarrassed that they're not ranking me for a certain search term because I have the best result. And so I want Google to be chasing me. I want their algorithms to catch up to me if I'm not ranking today, not the other way around.
Right, for sure. And that's definitely recommended. And any other companies you want to talk about, or should we just get into the SEO talk?
We could just get into the SEO talk.